everybody. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne. And this is the new house edition. And also I left my door open, so I better close it so I don't annoy David. 1 second. Yay! I can have a slight fan. We're all good. So hi guys. Long time no see. Some of you saw me yesterday though, because I did a test stream. So I did put up some stuff. I'm getting a little tiny echo, so I get it. But yeah, I need to. yeah, it does sound a lot better. I've still got a little bit of reverb, Chibi, just because like I threw a bookshelf up, but no books in it yet, you know. So as I fill this stuff out, but I've got a big blanket hanging on my wall over here, and that's helping a lot to keep the stuff out. Thanks, Fax Painter. Nice to meet you. Hi, welcome back. This is Anne's welcome back stream. I just moved to a new house and I was gone for like 9 days. I was out in the ether. And my paint was hiding from me, Jetta, and I didn't find it. But you know what? The great thing about being the creator of Reaper Masterstreet's paint is I can mix it. Or I can get close. Or I can find something that's close. So maybe that just means I won't work on the greens on Fungal Queen today. Maybe we'll actually continue work on mapping out the top. I was actually thinking about adding some blue toward the outside edge on this. Actually, let's go to Cam, the real Cam. So Fungal Queen 44050, and there's her back. So we're working on this and filling out kind of these cool pinky fleshy colors. But then I thought maybe I would do the reverse of what is currently going on with the blue here, and maybe work some blue in toward the outside edge here. Maybe even a tiny hint of the green that we have going on in her skin. So yeah, yes, I'm backlighting him. Yes. Yeah, I threw some guys up there, some Overwatch dudes, and actually our Conga line of miniatures. These guys, there's Bronze Golem. So they'll be in frame. They get to be on screen now. And like I said, I'm waiting on my screen to come, and so the screen will go and kind of partition this room so you guys don't have to see the crap that's back there. And it should give us a nice kind of like background. So yeah. Yeah, I want to put art on the wall, Chibi, as far as decorative. So I've got some prints like that Larry Elmore signed for me alone, that I've been wanting to, and stuff like that. And I've got some Stephanie Law, I think, also, that I've been waiting to put up for a long time, waiting to get framed. They've just been they've just been traveling around in their roll canister. So at least one Larry Elmore companion box cover set, and one and a couple of Stephanie Law pieces will be going up on the wall. Yeah, David and I, if you didn't know, GB, David and I are totally into art. So we're already super excited about all the wall space in this house. He actually likes to buy originals, but I also have some nice prints, autographed prints from fantasy artists I really like. So if I could afford to commission a Stephanie Law or Larry Elmore original, I would, but no, it didn't. I just did a test stream yesterday, Absalon, so today we should be back on my afternoon stream as well. That's on twitch.tv/paintingbig, and it should go around 4 p.m. USA Central Time. Yeah, I love Elmore. I'm an Elmore fangirl. I own a whole bunch of his art books, Robin. Yes. Ta-da! Yeah, I'm back, Letonics. Yes, thank you for the shout out, Quiddy. All right, let's get some paint mixed up. Let's actually get some paint mixed up. No way, dudes. So yeah, I'm glad. Yesterday there was a definite echo when we did a little test stream on my channel. You probably saw that, Absalon, but I just needed to. I needed to make sure everything worked for this morning, so I just did it off schedule. We do not have, because I could not find my Dungeon Dwellers paint yet. Like seriously, 3/4 of our stuff is still packed. I'm gonna use something else if I need to do green. What's close? That green's close. I've got some nice, cool, interesting Pathfinder greens here. Like, I'm thinking that meadow green and boggard green actually would be equivalent to her skin tone type colors, so I can keep those around. And I need to find out if I've got a nice dark olive here. I might have one. I think I have the Expo colors, and I thought there was an olive green. Gutter Grime. Gutter Grime looks like it might work a little bit. It's close. Yeah, close enough. So let's make a new triad. Woohoo! New green triad. So these guys all work together, actually. So this one is noticeably brighter. So let's talk about the Reaper triads for a second. And using them. And I know I brought this up before, but of course we always love repeating information for people who haven't been here before. And thank you, hello, every new people who came. Every new people. You're all peoples. Oh, the move. So, okay, let's talk about paint and then I'll talk about the move. So when you get a Reaper triad and you notice, say you notice like here that maybe you notice the shadow is a lot darker than the midtone, or like here you'll notice that the highlight is a lot, and this is just 3 paints I've thrown together, but it's essentially a makeshift triad. So these two are very different. When you see this, assume that you need to do a 50-50 mix, like a 1-to-1 mix between these two colors. You'll want to do a transition. It's just going to make everything work better together to do that. So, and that's just because I couldn't do pentads. Like, and I've talked before a little bit about how I kind of feel like Master Series works even better in pentads. And I need to remind myself, first sticky note of the new desk. Woo! First sticky note of the new house. You guys are so special. And of course I still don't have a pen. So it's gonna be paint. But I need to make a note that, I need to do some pentad, like, stuff for you for Patreon. But, yeah, so always assume that you should do, like, do like a 5-step or a 4-step. So put an extra mix in between these, and you'll find it all works better together. But as far as the move goes, we're still, like, the kitchen is getting there. The living room is looking good, but we still need another miniatures case. It's getting there. Everything else is a total disaster. Like, I did enough Office Lady Nim to functionally stream, but this setup is going to be changing in the coming days. Of course, next week is ReaperCon, so the last stream day will be Tuesday for my show, and then I'll be at ReaperCon through Monday, and then we'll fly back on Monday night. So I should be back on the following Tuesday. So pretty much there is the ReaperCon break, but you'll see things evolve here a little bit more once I get my screen and stuff. That'll be good. So, all right, let's grab a paintbrush and mix up some colors. Thank you, Moonglooms, for the welcome back. I painted a bunch of Dark Sword Elmore miniatures. If you have not taken a look at the awesome Elmore Masterworks line that Jim Ludwig at Dark Sword puts out, some of the very first ones of that, I painted 1 or 2 boxes. 1 or 2 of the box sets. And so I got, Larry actually really liked my work, so that's that little squee moment you get, right? It's like lowly miniature painter recognized by Larry Elmore as doing the best job on his miniatures. Yeah. If I could have painted them in oils, I would have. So yeah, I painted a bunch of those for Jim and met, Jim introduced me to Larry at Gen Con, I think, that next year, and Larry had signed over a couple of prints just to me, so that's almost as good as an original, really. All right, let's put these guys over here. I'm gonna let's work on our back today. Let's grab our blues, as usual, remember, Anne keeps a sticky note of the colors that she has used, although we are out. The reason I'm using these other colors is that I don't know where my troll hide is. I don't know where I put my Dungeon Dwellers boxes. I probably packed them up and threw them in a box because they're the nice kind of space filler things, and then didn't mark the outside that was where they were. I'm usually really good about that, but there were moments in this moving process where things got a little bit chaotic. All right, let's see here. So that's right, Nightmare Blue, Blue Liner, and Cyan Blue. I do have my my drawer completely constructed. I actually never broke it down. I carried it over here like en masse. So my reference drawer, my drawer which has a bunch of stuff in it for this show, the paints, I mean, is all right here with everything in its place. And I left the top off my organizer, so now I can just, like, I don't have to pull the drawer out to get my paint anymore. I just reach over and grab it, which is really cool. Hey, Shivermoon. Yeah, streams are a really good way to learn stuff about the hobby. I do a very interactive thing, whereas if you talk to me, I talk a lot. Talk a lot back to the chat. So if you have, since you just got in, if you have a specific question, just shoot. Doesn't matter if it's a beginner question or if we've covered it before, we're happy to cover it again. Good morning, Davidware. Using a moving truck as a paint engine. My car, actually. We only moved a mile and a half away from our apartment, Cranston. So it actually, I did a lot of the stuff that I wanted quick, to hand. I did myself. I just carried it over. That way I wouldn't get it, stuck in a box, where I am with my other stuff. Hey, Basement. Basement, every time I see your name, I think of Basement Cat. Yeah, we're in the new studio. Woo! Yeah, we'll get a backdrop. We'll get other stuff. It's in progress. It's a whip. The studio is a whip. Work in progress. I have most of what I need, but then there are glaring holes in what I have that, like a pen. I keep forgetting to bring a pen in here. So if I take any notes on a sticky note, I have to use a brush, which is really funny, actually. Hey, Yankee. Not so much, Sai, because one of the things, I also have a breeze coming through the window up here. I do use a lot of water on the brush, and that helps. Remember, I keep my brushes kind of damp before I load them up. I don't keep them like sopping wet because that would just thin down the paint more, but that helps. It's also the fact that the fan behind me is like, I'm painting here, so my body is blocking a lot of the airflow. If a noise from the fan gets annoying, I can turn it off. I just wanted to, since I had to close the door, I wanted to keep some air circulation in here. But yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. If we notice that it's a thing, then we can, work with it. But I think it'll be fine. It's my personal conviction. Thank you, Anki. Fixing the nose on your Avatar of Rage. Queen, that's good. Good. Barely notice it. Good. Yeah, I mean, it's white noise, so let's see. What's my other blue? I was using, oh, that's right. Ice Devil. That's one of my favorite blues, and if you guys don't have it, this is one of my favorite Pathfinder blues, Ice Devil. It's just this light, it's got a hint of green to it. It's just such a nice highlighter for other, if you don't want to use like a greenish or teal or turquoise, it's a really nice highlighter for other blues. I like it. So we're going to mix it up and get some blue tones to mix in here. I'm going to do a mix of Cyan and Nightmare first, and I did scooch around some of my other colors, so I'm going to be repositioning them. It's an and trouble. Yes, it is. I am here and in my new house. I love my new house. We have the gardener coming today to tame the yard, which did get a bit, because it took us a month to actually move in. So the yard is a bit feral. It's definitely gone wild. It might eat you if you walk into it. So we're having that over today. And we're trying to fix our internet because right now, for some reason, although there are internet sockets in like rooms on this side of the house and the master, or not the master, the room on the other side of the house is the TV room, essentially, the family room. But the ones over here don't work, so we're running cat cable across the entire house. Because David and Ann, we need internet. Oh, good. Yeah, this is a new to us house as well. This one was born, this house was born back in the 50s. It's true, but then I'd have to, like, the ceilings are really cool here. Okay, I'm going to tilt my camera. So this is an old Eichler. So it's got actually the cool, see the ceiling? So it's a really cool feature of the house. So we really don't want to, put in fans or do anything that's going to damage it. So that's the thing with Grey Wolf. I love the ceilings in this house. It is giving us a little bit of the bounce because it's wood. Like when we got the echo yesterday, this little bit of that is, but the beam also helps to break that up a little. Yeah, and I love the beam. I love the beam, and so I don't want to, yeah. I mean, I can always just, I can turn this off and lump it for a little while. Hold on. It's actually colder in here than I thought it was, so if I get warm later on, I'll put it back on. But, all right, cool. So we've got kind of a soft blue. Now I want a little bit of a lighter version of that, but I kind of do want, we need our black cherry color so we can kind of blend out. I want to kind of move from this rosy coral color over to almost a purple transition and then out to the blue. Yeah, it was not terrible, but I'll just leave it off for now because I was actually getting a little cold. The house got really cold last night. I left a lot of windows open. I got up this morning and it was like 67 inside or something. I'm like, flashbacks to my dad not wanting to turn the heat on in the winter. Like, he would leave the heat super low overnight while we slept, and that made getting up terrible, and I think that gave me my allergy to getting out of bed in the morning. I think it's all his fault. I'm going to blame him. Dad, it's all your fault. So, for our red... Oh, that's right. It was, so this is the sexy color. This is 1 drop of Nightmare Black for this awesome black cherry color that you see. I'm just calling it black cherry. I'm no longer making the Reaper paints, so now I can totally indulge myself in calling paints with food names, which I never would allow myself to do at Reaper. I like it when it's cooler, but really cold, I hate getting out of bed. Like then I just feel like I'm chilled. And I'm one of those people who always wakes up in the middle of the night, you know, and has to get up, so... Oh, Grey Wolf, jeez, do you have a pelt like your name? Are you like covered in fur? That's freezing. I would never get up in the morning. Oh my god, you are hardcore. Never. Okay, so 4 drops of this color. A fire red is very underappreciated in my opinion. It's my answer. It's a carmine red is kind of what it is, which means it's a little bit cooler and pinker. It's kind of an equivalent, if you know Vallejo carmine, it's kind of an equivalent to that, but even it's a little less pink. So that's fire right there. And it's a great red to work cooler purples off of if you want kind of a muted purple. You're exothermic. David is exothermic as well. Yeah, I have mini blankets, but I am one of those people who gets cold really easily. So, easily freezily. So I recognize keeping the house cooler, 68, 69, I'm all right with that. Then I start getting, really uncomfortable if it gets lower than that. Taking notes, it really is the prettiest color. So let's put a couple of drops of water in it. It's Nightmare Black, 1 drop, and about 4 drops of Fire Red. And you can adjust it if you want. Ooh, yeah. It's a pretty color. It really does look like black cherry. Like it's like it is the color that black cherry would be. And actually, I feel like this one's a little bit lighter. I'm going to put another drop of Nightmare in it. Just a titch. You want to be careful with Nightmare because it does have a really high load of pigment in it. It's one of our more highly pigmented colors. There we go. So you need to mix really well. That's good. There's our black cherry. Yeah. Pretty. Very pretty. Yeah, good. House temp is 68 all day in winter. Yeah, that makes sense. That saves energy too, right, Robin? I don't mind putting on a flannel, but like when it's in the middle of the night, I'm, if I'm getting up, I'm just freezing between the bed and the bathroom, and I hate that. I just hate it. Like, if we started keeping the house really cold at night, I would ask David to turn the heat up before I got out of bed. Yeah. Nightmare Black's a great color. It's really a blue-black. It's kind of what, I think Pro Paint may have called it blue-black. I don't remember. But it's one of my favorite colors, just generally. I like to mix it into things and to use it as a liner and a shader, so... I got the blues. Hey, glasses. I do have those. I don't have a pen, but I have glasses. There we go. I am going to make a little sticky note. Maybe I'll start by doing some pen tabs for reds. This is what I get. And if I have to do this enough, I'm going to remember to put a pen in here. There we go. Wow. Good deal. Oh, yeah. What is it with, like, it must, I don't know if it's, like, the difference in, like, hormones or what, but I do know a lot of guys who are exothermic and a lot of ladies who are, like me, kind of chilled. Get chilly easily. All right. Limber out the brush. Take all the tubules off. We got I was playing with a Winsor & Newton Series 7 yesterday, a brand new one. But today it is all about the Da Vinci. So Da Vinci Maestro. Series 10, size 1. You're a massive furnace. Yeah, it's yeah, see, I started going pink up here, but I didn't like it very much. So I think I'm going to try blue. Let's get our black cherry going on here and block in these a little bit more. And we did originally do a dry brush on these guys to bring them up a little bit, but I'm going to see what I can do just to kind of paint some blue. I'm going to thin this down because it's covering a bit much. When you dry brush underpainting with white, you want your paint to be a little thinner. The cats will sit on my lap for a while and then move on because I'm just too warm. Yeah. I've got my mom's, like, kind of makeup, so I'm probably going to be one of those people who's cold forever. She likes to joke that her blood pressure is so low, it's like she could call in dead. All right, I'm going to need to lighten that up for sure. So let's do a mixture. Let's take our black cherry and our blue and mix them together to make kind of a more purpley blue, kind of a weird blue, actually. I like it. And then put some Ice Devil in it. Bloop, ah! And I totally dropped that bloop down the side of my palette, so time to rescue it. Da-da-da. There we go. Ooh, it's a pretty color. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you lose that much weight. You definitely feel the cold more, right? It's the downside of losing weight. Because I used to always be warm too, and then I lost to 60 pounds, and voila. Let's see if I like this. I don't know if this color is quite right. I think I wanted a little more red. I'm just trying to mess around to get something that's a good transition for between my coral and my blue. Eat a popsicle at 100 degrees and shiver. Hey, Rax. Yeah, we're back. We're back for good. Yes. Yesterday was just a preview. So this is kind of a grayed out lilac color. This is interesting. I don't know if this will work, though. Mostly I'm just putzing now. If you want to do color transitions, you got to figure out something that works. Let me get, I think I'm going to mix up, I'm going to get just some pure white so I can have it as a mixer. Oh, good, good, good. Glad Magnetic Gumby. Yeah, I like the Turbodork stuff. I do find that it doesn't age well. Make sure that you keep it well shaken. I lost a bottle because it just had sat in a drawer for too long, like a couple of years. So do be aware that with those, you really want to keep them, like, shake them, you know, every 6 months or so. May have been just a weird idiosyncrasy, but when that happens, I tend to be like, Oh, yeah. What is the ugliest color? Viman Aqua, the one color that I really, really have never liked is mint green. I don't paint with it ever, you'll notice. That said, that the Reaper mint green, 9264 or 3, I think, is a good transition. It's a good highlighter for blues, so I can't diss it completely. I think I want my coral mixed up. But do I have my Lotus Orange? Yes, I do. Win. Sweet. I'm just going to mix up all the colors, and we're just going to muck around until we get a result that we like. You know what? I'm going to do a double batch. Double batch. But yeah, I always joke that I don't like mint green because all my baby furniture was mint green. But I love all colors. Like there is, That needs better shaking. There is no ugly color in my opinion. Especially because... Oh, you can use mint green to highlight almost any medium blue, like dragon. It works really well with dragon blue. Rhonda really loves using it, so you could ask her for her best uses for mint green also. I think she loves it to highlight blues. All right, there's my water. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's useful. I just think it's an ugly color. I would never paint anything in my house mint green. Let me get my rosy skin because we were using that as a highlight here. Or a highlighter, I should say. Our coral color is 2 drops of fire red, 4 drops of the new lotus orange, and 1 drop of rosy skin to give it some opacity. Yeah, I use mint green to highlight blue. Like I said, I give Rhonda that cred because that's one of her favorite combos. It's what she likes to use it for. There we go. Now we've got our nice... I wonder what happens if I mix these. Ha-ha! I probably get something really weird. Yeah, that is really weird. I like it, but it's weird. This is what you have to do, guys. You just have to go crazy. You just have to say, I wonder what happens if I mix this. And then do it. And then you learn. In this case, it shifted that purple almost to a brownish purple, which is very interesting. It's almost like a lighter bruise purple. El Miedo, nice to meet you. You're a beginner, you're good, no problem. We don't judge here. I love teaching beginners and intermediate painters, so we do not judge. Ask any question, no matter, you may think it's a stupid question, there is no stupid questions at all. There are no stupid questions for this stream. So it doesn't matter, ask it. Well, we will answer, and we won't make fun of you. To blend the colors, do you usually have 1 coat of base colors down first, or do you blend with the initial base coat? 2 coats. So the difference, if I'm understanding your question, you're asking if I do layering. So I have 1 coat down first, and then I blend up like different layers. So for example, using this paint while this is dry, right? So that would be kind of like layering. Or do I do wet blending, which is actually putting down, like you could put down a color, say on primer, and then you could mix in some of your secondary color and make a blend that way, right? So what I do is I really kind of mix it up. I use both techniques, and I think that you should learn to use both, El Miedo. I think that both the wet into wet and the wet over dry is a good philosophy. The thing that putting down a base coat does for you first, though, is that it gives you a solid coverage. And then if you're working with paint over the top that maybe doesn't cover quite as well, you don't have to worry as much because you've already got a nice solid coat of color. So even if I'm doing wet blending, if I'm like blending like a blue into a green for highlights, I'll still have a base color down, which is probably the blue, so that I don't have to worry about coverage when I'm doing that. Gimli, you're funny. You can grab mint green. I just think it's an ugly. Just because I think something is ugly, it doesn't mean that the rest of you can think it's the most beautiful color ever. You know, obviously the person who painted my baby furniture mint green thought it was an awesome color. But yeah. So does that mostly answer your question? We did a different kind of trick here, El Miedo, where we put down this dark red color. And then I dry brushed white over it in these areas so that I could get this color to stand out more easily. So to get this coral color, this orange and the pink to show up, and you can tell because I dry brushed mostly the top where the light is falling, and I didn't dry brush this underside. So this color, this coral color, is actually the same consistency applied down here as it is up here. But up here, it's got white underneath it, like you see here. And down here, it doesn't, or it has a lot less. And so you see how see-through it is. So that's another trick. I hope not, Gimli, although it would explain things, wouldn't it? But yeah, so usually when people start out, I recommend trying layering, unless you really are challenged by it. And then if you've got a knack for wet blending, you can do it. I often teach kids to paint using wet blending first. We'll still put a base coat down, but then I'll teach them how to do smooshing, as I call it. And they tend to take right to it. But if they have problems with it, or if you have problems with it, because it's not an easy technique. It takes it takes some knack. It takes some getting used to it. It takes some practice. Layering is a lot more easy if you don't take to wet blending, and I think it's more precise. It gives you a cleaner look. Yeah, no thin cadmium, please. So I'm gonna mess around a bit here. I still want to kind of blend out from this coral, which means I am doing a little bit of wet blending because I'm grabbing this purple that I kind of want to transition to. I've mixed it with a little bit of my coral to give it kind of an intermediate shade. And I'm going to try to make it blend out to blue at the edges. And sometimes you just want to create that illusion, and what you would do is to start like with your purple and just put your little bit of orange toward the back edge. Like, you can blend any two colors together. It helps that I added, though. Remember, I added some coral into this, like, muted purple. And the purple itself is a mixture of this black cherry and our blue that we're using on the rest of the model. So, I'm mixing a lot of things together here. I'm using a lot of mixes to make the colors go together. But you can make any two colors appear to blend. Like, there's really no limit. You might have to muck around. If they're very different, you might have to muck around with them a lot more, but you could do it. No radium paint. No, please. No. So I'm going to try this purple up here, and then I'm going to go out to blue. I'm going to use this little row here as kind of my transition row. And then I'm going to grab some of this blue. I'm just going to do a spot mix up here on the top. Make kind of a muted indigo for that next row. And for the tops, I'm going to blend this in on these two long ones to make the transition appear. And I can take this blue color and I can do a line on the top of these previous little cells, or a little bit of layering, to make it appear to blend. Because there's so many little fragmented pieces here, guys, you don't even need like it to really blend. If you even give it a suggestion of a blend, it will carry. Like, the eye will say, yeah, that looks right. And then I'm going to add in a little bit more white, a little bit more blue. I do use the upside of my well palette as a blending surface if I just need little touches or if I'm testing something. Oh, okay. Thanks, El Miedo. Yeah, I've been painting forever. I'd been teaching like beginners for a long time. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, wet blending, I really do think laying down a base coat first and then doing your wet blending, it just takes, because otherwise you have to hope that both your paints are high coverage. And even the best coverage paints, if you're putting it over a white primer, you might run into problems. I prefer white because I like my colors to be brighter, more true. So it really depends. If you were working with a black primer, you might be able to get away without a base coat. But again, you're trying to build up colors over that black, and the black is going to dim the colors. So it's like, nah, I still like the base coat. Base coat under the wet blend. I use a lot of little wet blending on this one, El Miedo, too, on the stream in general. Like, you'll see me go, I even have done it a little bit here already, just trying to make this blend from my coral color all the way through to blue, which is pretty much a difficult blend, right? We're going from orange to blue. We're going complementary. But I do often use wet blending just in little spots here and there on this show because I'm trying to paint a little faster. And where wet blending excels is speed. It really, really, really allows you to move a lot faster. On the other hand, though, it can be a frustrating technique, especially if you're in an arid or dry climate, because it tends to work best when you've got some humidity. You can fight that a little bit by using more paint on the model when you're wet blending. Just, make sure that you're using a little bit more and it'll stay wet a little bit longer. But you still have to be pretty fast if you're in a dry area. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't often use dry brushing, and I used to like really hate it. But for underpainting this kind of thing where I want a directional light, it worked really well, I think. And especially, it's great when you've got a textured surface. And of course, with all this crackle texture on the back of Mushroom Queen, it's kind of perfect for that. It would be perfect for this too, but not as perfect, because down here we don't have as deep of a cut. These cuts between the sections are really deep, and that lets our dry brushing work really, really well. It's a lot harder to dry brush well over a very shallow texture or a more shallow texture. I could probably do it down here, but I think I like it up top. I don't think I like it down under. But yeah, underpainting is something I do all the time on Miedo. I use it for producing like textured effects a lot of time, but I also will use it for highlights and freehand. So you'll see me. Tomorrow we have, here, let me give you an example. 1 second. Tomorrow we've got Lizette, so let me get my thingy out of the way. So tomorrow we're working on Lizette, and here, let me get closer. And we did the flower design with the underpainting. So I essentially drew this in white, and then I glazed colors over the top. So it gives a much more crisp design because it's up against that dark green. So I do that an awful lot to bring out like details or to do freehand. So she's our project for tomorrow. We're getting close to done on her. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to. Oh yeah, we did. We decided to do Darius the Blue next. We're gonna keep that our Bones USA slot. All right, I want to make sure I'm in focus, totally in focus here. There we go, nice and crisp. Perfect. I do like working on this model because she's so big. Nice big mini. Let's see here. I started transitioning to blue there. There we go. The other thing about underpainting, if you use it, is you do want your paint a little thinner. I'm going to actually mix a lighter blue, I think. Yeah, we do it every day on this channel, the Reaper Miniatures Twitch. We do it every weekday, Almiedo. We do it, it's 11:30 Central USA time, until we go till 1 p.m. And then, we pretty much have a cycle of 6 different models, and we loop it. We loop it endlessly, and as we finish models, we put new ones in. So it should always be like a different thing. Because doing all the same thing is never fun. So I'm going to mix a lighter blue, guys. I'm going to get our blue here. Let's back up real quick. And I'm going to grab my mixing brush. I'm going to grab a big fat blob of that, probably about 2 drops equivalent. And I'm going to grab my Ice Devil blue that I was saying was so awesome. And I'm going to drop that in here to make it lighter. Yeah, zenithal priming is essentially underpainting. And that is why if you really want to get the advantage of Zenith, you will use thinned paint over the top of it. But I think I don't remember, I have talked about Zenith priming before, at least on my Patreon, and maybe here. But the trick with it is a lot of people like do the Zenith prime, but then they use like heavier colors over the top, and they can't really see the difference, right? Because acrylics are opaque. They're always going to build up and cover over what's under them eventually. So if you use paint of any opacity, any real opacity over your Zenith prime, you're going to lose it. So the way to work with it is either just to use thinner colors as you work out, like I am, or to kind of switch up, like have all of your shadow through your highlight already mixed, and then just paint it that way. So where the dark spots are, paint your shadow and your next color up, and then start using lighter and lighter colors as you get out to where your Zenith white is. And use your lightest colors to paint over that white. So then you can kind of use it as a roadmap, even though you're covering it up and you're not letting it show through like we did here. You can still get use out of your Zenith highlighting that way. I think that sometimes they don't talk enough about like how to Zenith. They'll tell you how to prime, but they don't tell you kind of how to preserve or get use out of that. Let's see here. I'm going to actually mix in a little bit of white, do a little bit of wet blending up here like I was talking about. Grabbing this blue and mixing in some pure white to get a brighter blue up there on the edge and kind of see if I like that effect. I don't want the blue to overwhelm the coral, but I want it to look like it's blending out and make it look really cool. So I kind of like this. I'm going to go on to this next section and see if I can make it work. Yeah, using it as a map. Yeah, because I work for Reaper, Almiedo, I actually, I do work every day. Although next week is ReaperCon, so I'll be streaming on Monday and Tuesday, but then on Wednesday, my guy and I are traveling down to ReaperCon to teach. So I'll be offline for about a week while we're at the con, and then I'll be back the following Tuesday. But yeah, normally, during normal times, I'm here every weekday morning. Or every weekday, you know, slightly afternoon if you're on the East Coast, or in every evening if you're in Europe. We have people from all over the place who tune in. All right, so I like that. That's good. I'm going to start mapping in some purple over here. Since my purple is kind of my transition color, I lightened it because I need it to be lighter than the black cherry for it to be a good transition. I think I want to keep that. Well, maybe not. Yeah, we'll keep that. Yeah, I mean, that's what Zenith is good for. And Zenith still isn't like, it's not perfect. You still have to tune it. Like, I'll usually tune my Zenith by going over it. Like, once I've got the priming down, I'll take black and white. And I did a video on this. If you're on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/paintingbig, I think for $10 we did a using kind of a mapping out Zenith highlighting on a Games Workshop Satyr Archer piece. And it's useful if you aren't sure like where to go once you've primed with your Zenith. I'm gonna do a little bit of blue here. So you have a choice here. You can either wet blend it, or you can just layer it. So thin your blue down so it can build up in blended layers. It's up to you which technique you prefer. Both work fine. Thank you for the link there, Quindy. Yeah, my Patreon is a lot of useful stuff on it. And I think next month, I'm striving to catch up right now. So, because the move really took a big chunk out of my month between the packing and then the actual moving. Am I going too blue, too in? I don't know. We're going to go there. We're going to start mixing our blue there. We'll get it up right out here, and we'll see if it's too much, but I think that might be okay. I don't want to get too crazy with the blue. I don't want it to totally creep in too much. I want the main color back here to still be the black cherry with the kind of the salmony coral color. So map this out, and then these guys are going to go straight blue, all of it. And they'll actually get pretty bright out near the outer corner. And I keep my black cherry color mixed up just in case I blorf and I have to go back and kind of put in a line where I painted over it. So I always try to have my adjustment color also open on my palette so that then there's really no headache. If I make a mistake, I just can immediately correct it. And that's one of the best mindsets to get yourself into with mini painting is so what, you made a mistake, just correct it. And don't like freak out about it. Like just, it's no sweat. All of us make mistakes. Like I regularly do huge blorfs on my models where I have to go back and paint over something because I screwed it up. So it's not a big deal. And that's the best mindset that you can cultivate with painting. Is accept that there will be mistakes made, and the great thing is that acrylic paint makes it very easy to paint over your mistake and make it right. And even if you make a blorf like a black over a white or other light color where normally it'd be hard to cover it up, just put down white on top of that black blorf first and it'll be just fine. Yeah, I'm bummed that I'm kind of behind on the Patreon this month. I know it's understandable, but it's like, I've been like, the most I've ever been with Patreon is like one day late for like one video. I've been so good. And I've been doing it for over 2 years, so I'm like super proud of myself. But yeah, the moving has overwhelmed me. So I'll be working pretty hard this weekend to try to catch up a little bit while we're doing more moving. I have to be at home on Saturday to get my new standing desk. Ooh, for writing. That's the desk that's going to go against that back wall there. I bit the bullet. There's so little, there's so few things I can actually deduct as a work expense because Reaper covers me for a lot of my miniatures and paints. And so like I can deduct brushes and I don't really need, there's no overhead in miniature painting and digital content creation. So after I deducted my like cam and my light and stuff like that, I just never have any deductions, it seems. But I decided that I would get myself a really nice standing desk because sitting all the time, not awesome for me. So I can even paint, and I've actually done standing painting before. So I know I can actually paint miniatures while standing. So the standing desk will be back there. It's an adjustable standing desk, but it'll probably be on stand mode most of the time. So there we go. So that kind of looks cool. That almost looks glowy, doesn't it? Here, let's move that out. Oh, actually, I liked the palette a bit more. Yeah, there we go. That's more true to color. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Because taking it up toward the light blue at the edges, I think gives it kind of a glowing look. Nope, we do, because it's Reaper Miniatures channel. So it's a company. Reaper Miniatures is a company, a miniatures company, who also produces its own paint. And so we have a bunch of different shows, Almiedo, that we host on here. I don't know if do we have a link to a schedule that we can post, Quindy? But it actually isn't because you're bending your neck over it, Epharsis. I learned to do it kind of leaning back a little bit with my shoulders back because when I worked at Games Workshop, when people came in the store, they wanted you to be standing and actively engage with them. And my manager was kind of trolling me and said that I couldn't sit and paint while I was waiting for customers to walk in. So I stood and painted. I reverse trolled him. He hated it, but he couldn't say anything. So yeah. There we go. Quindy has linked the schedule, Almiedo. So we've got a terrain guy who does that sort of thing. We've got Crow's Nest, which is more of a talk show with Michael Proctor, who's another painter. So he'll have people in the miniatures industry on there, including our sculptors, often sculptors that work for us or painters that work for us. He'll have them on there. And then there's Rhonda. Rhonda's Beyond the Kit. And she's the one who wrote our Learn to Paint kits, Reaper Miniatures Learn to Paint kits. So Rhonda will do, she does a whole bunch of different subjects, but just kind of moving beyond the stuff that she's taught in her Learn to Paint kits. She's a lot like me, Rhonda is, because she's persnickety and she is detail oriented. And we also are both really exhaustive in how we want to answer questions and kind of attack the technical parts of the hobby, where a lot of people don't talk about that as much, or they don't stop to explain what they're doing. I think both me and Rhonda do that actually really well. So, and she's also a Reaper staff painter. She also helps run our painting competition at ReaperCon. Rhonda's just a great person. She has a fantastic blog as well that you can check out. It's birdwithabrush.com, and she has a Patreon to support that blog. But she's a great lady. So you may have seen her on here. They also had some guest people on last week while I was out for moving. There we go. Yay, Rhonda. Nope. Yeah, Rhonda's awesome. Rhonda is fantastic. She's another one that's good to ask beginner questions of. She keeps I think she has a really clear mindset on what it's like to be a beginner in this hobby. Sometimes we lose it. If you don't cultivate that as you get better and better at something, you sometimes forget what it's like to be a beginner. I try to remember and try to tackle really basic stuff like loading your brush, how to load your brush. There's a way that you should do it, and how to unload your brush, things like that. So between us, I think we've got a pretty good deconstruction of painting if you're newer. I think it's a good combo. But yeah, so, and that's pretty much, I think, then we have Reaperland, which is Reaper Dave and Reaper John, and they're talking more about what's going on with Reaper, what we're working on. I'm not sure what Reaperland has grown into. During the Kickstarter, they do a lot of previewing figures on there. And then there's Reaper Live, which is our CEO Ed, our CFO Dave, Sadie, who runs our paint department now that I'm no longer at Reaper. Now that I'm remote and I can no longer make the paint every day. Ron, who's our art director, is on there also, and then John, who does our social media. So Reaper Live is kind of the Reaper's like, hey, what's going on kind of talk show, and they also give away a lot of free stuff, and that's Thursday evenings. That's when Ed gives away half the company, you know. We always tease him about that. All right, I like this blue. All right, here we go. Brush, especially when you've got a nice brush like these Sables. You can do it that way, especially if you're working a wet palette, right? If you're working with a wet palette, then you want to load your paint on your brush and kind of smear it a little bit over the surface of your wet palette to get the right consistency, right? I work with a well palette because it allows me to keep my paints at I feel at the right consistency for longer. I don't have to hand mix every brush full of paint. So for here, it's just a matter of how much of your brush do you actually dip into the paint? The answer is really little. So maybe a third of the brush. Then the most important thing beyond that is to unload your brush. And that's where the wet palette kind of is hard because you're really not, you're kind of unloading it and loading it with water at the same time on a wet palette, unless you have a drier piece of paper that you can unload on. But depending on the size of your brush and how thin your paint is how many kind of dabs you need to unload your brush. And what you want is you want it to hit this super sharp point at the end. So your way is correct if you're using a wet palette. I often say you should try both palettes. This one is kind of cool because it's actually got very little wells. You can see they're about the size of my thumb. So not the big wells. And this makes it easy for me to make mixtures of, say, 6 or 8 drops of paint plus water. And it stays at where I need it. Like you notice that I haven't re-thinned any of these, even though I live in a pretty dry climate. They're staying pretty much where I need them to be as far as consistency. That's the strength of the well palette, is that you're building these wells, you build it, you test it, you make sure it's exactly where you want it, and then you can just paint with it. You don't have to pick it up, keep picking it up off the wet palette. Now the wet palette is a more painterly way to attack the hobby. You're more organic. You're working with a lot less precision. You're working a little more messy. And a lot of painters really love that. My boyfriend, who's a Crystal Brush Award winner, he's a national and international award-winning painter also. He uses just the wet palette. He doesn't ever use the well. So we're totally different and we have very different styles, but we're both very good. So either way. I see gifted subs. Well, thank you, Dalker. Your first gift sub. And welcome. All right. Oh, what was I doing? I was taking this off to look at the giant type. Yeah, and some people use the wet palette because they can preserve it a little bit better. You can also do that with the well if you saran wrap it. I just drop some water in the wells and saran wrap it, but that only works for a couple days. Rhonda puts a damp sponge over hers to keep it good. There are tricks and life hacks. But yeah, try both is what I tell people and decide which one suits you better and then just run with that. And learn their strengths and weaknesses because there are strengths and weaknesses to both palettes. And they tend to foster certain styles. Like for the wet palette, wet blending, you're going to be probably doing a lot of wet blending. And it's going to be harder for you to do smooth layering blends. But it's going to be a lot easier for you to do the wet blending. So whereas this, it's super easy to do smooth blends with layering because you can control your paint consistency so well. But it's a lot harder to do the wet blends, the spot wet blends, unless you're very fast and you're really confident with it. So yeah, I mean, it does, except that it doesn't let you build a thin paint. Like this white is pretty darn thin. It's pretty watery. The wet palette, that would just become a puddle of sludge because the wet palette will kind of wick the moisture, the extra moisture out of it. It'll go down into the sponge, right? The water down under there is what's keeping your paint from drying, but it doesn't keep your paint at a wash consistency or at a layering consistency. If you want to thin your paint and work with it like I'm doing here on the layering, so if I drop an extra blob into here. If I want this coral color to be just right where it'll let the light show through, for example, I can mix that up here in my well palette and I won't have to touch it or add water or change a thing for at least a half an hour to 45 minutes. I can just sit here and paint with this thinned paint and it won't dry appreciably for like 45 minutes, even in my climate. And I'm like mid-California, so I'm pretty dry. Yeah, the big key with this is big paint puddles, because it's surface area, so it's physics. So if you've got this well of paint that's like a cup, the deeper it is, the less surface area is open to the air. So that's essentially less evaporation or slower evaporation. So don't just use the big mistake people do when they start with a dry palette is they only use a couple drops of paint. Always use like 6 and then add a couple drops of water so you've got a nice deep well, and you'll find that your paint stays at the right consistency. When I'm doing stuff like the freehand, when I'm doing tiny things like this, like like Halfling's cape, then, and stuff like that. Oop, hold on. I dropped her in the paint and actually got paint on her. And what did I just do, by the way? Do you guys want to know? I just dropped her into my water cup. The whole thing. So when you do that, when you drop your mini into your paint and you find that she is just compromised, the thing that you do immediately is you throw her into your water cup. Or him. Or it. And this stops the paint from drying on the surface. Then you can bring it back up to the surface of the water and get all the paint off. Ta-da! We're back. We're back and we're pristine. Because the paint is already dry, it's impervious to water. Now, this does not work. Let me dry her off a little bit. This does not work on Bones Classic as well, because if there's even a little bit of looseness for that water to get under the surface of the paint, sometimes it will strip up. But if you have a lot of paint, like if you've airbrushed your Bones base coat, and you have a lot of paint on the bones, it should work if you're gentle with it. Yeah, exactly, if you want. So, okay, when I'm doing, now that I've not dropped the mini in the paint, or I've fixed the mini from being in the paint. So when I'm doing the freehand like this guy, and I'm doing all this little like cloth texture, and I'm doing these little braids and stuff like here. Quindy, you're so funny. And you notice that I was just like, oh, blue. I've just done it so many times. I'm such a fumble fingers that I regularly drop my minis in my paint. And it's second nature. I'm just like, blue. And this is a competition model. Like, so I should have freaked out, but gotta keep that level-headedness, guys. Gotta keep the level head. But anyway, so when I'm doing like freehand, like with tiny textures where I need to keep the right texture, I need the paint at the perfect consistency for that. Or when I'm doing a lot of these little gold braids where I've just started mapping this out here. Or when I'm doing like little tiny freehand designs where I need the paint, again, to stay at the right consistency so that I can have it map these thin lines. All of that is better for me, on the well palette, because I can make this white to exactly the consistency I need it, and then I can use it for like half an hour to draw all this stuff out. So, but unfortunately I haven't unpacked my Knoll bust. But when I unpack her, I have a bust from White Werewolf Tavern that is a Knoll shaman or Knoll leader. And I painted her entirely with the wet palette because I wanted a really organic, natural look to her, with a lot of just more just painterly textures. So I was just working with every brush full of paint when I was doing the fur texture. And that works too. I can do both. That's why I always recommend, because sometimes I do find the wet palette it has a nice advantage to it. Like, especially if I'm feeling kind of burned out. When you burn out at mini painting or get tired of it, try to switch up something, like something significant. So switching to a different palette for a day or two of painting really helps me kind of loosen up and get back into the hobby if I've gotten a little tired or burned out or whatever. The other thing I do is switch sizes of models or scales, or I'll switch from fantasy to science fiction. Any significant change when you're just tired and you're feeling burned out and you look at your model and you're just like, just try something different. That can make you happier. Yeah, I can fix it either way. But I mean, I just throw the mini in the water. I don't even think about it anymore. And it works. It's fine. Especially with that. That's a resin model. It has primer. So, and a full, you know, good solid coat of paint. So throwing it in the water jar is not going to hurt it at all. The biggest mistake you can make with that, if you've dropped your mini in paint, is to stop and hesitate. You just got to chuck it. Got to go for it. Because you want to get it in that water before that outer edge of paint starts to dry. Once that starts to dry, then you're going to have a ring of paint to clean up. And that's going to be ever more headache. So don't hesitate. Charge boldly forward. All right, let's get some of our coral color on the bottom parts here. I think I'm liking how this is starting to look. So, oh, and it is stretch time. I do need to stand up and stretch. 1 second. We'll just get this little bit here. Little bits. So that is definitely thin enough where you can see the underpainting. So like on this little guy right here, I used the same color over the entire surface, but because there was more white on this edge, it's showing up lighter. So it's kind of a magical way to create a blended effect on some of your transitions. Yeah, I just dropped Halfling Assassin in the palette and had to throw her in my water jar, Pendrake. Everybody got a demo of what not to do. I love it when that happens. What not to do and then what to do to counter it. Yeah, exactly. That's great too, Magnetic Gumby. Yeah, airbrushes can be another cool way to kind of mess around and get yourself excited again. Yep. Yeah, you know, there's nothing better than dunking a competition level model that you've put 25 or 30 hours into, at least, into the drink. I think she's at least a 30-hour mini. Usually my competition level ones go at least 40 hours. All right, stretch. Totally needed to stretch. If you've been sitting for an hour or more, please, if you feel like it, get up and stretch. Because your back will thank you. My back thanks me, anyway. I'm going to get and do my little stretches on the floor, and then I'll be right back. There we go. All right. Rumors of a dragon turtle coming to the pledge manager. There was a dragon turtle in Bones last time, wasn't there? Bones 4? One miniature to paint from Reaper. I would say Bones Black or Bones USA, because those are like the plastic that are less, probably Bones USA, because it's really crisp. It's got really great detail. So if you're looking for plastic, if you're looking for metal, like white metal, then I'd say Pathfinder line. I really like a lot of the sculpts in Pathfinder. There are also some, when you're a beginner, some of the Pathfinder models are a little bit simpler. A lot of them are pretty elaborate, but several of the original iconics are pretty simple. Oh, they're putting some Bones 4 stuff back in there. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I would say the Bones USA, that this model, she's from Bones USA line, so she's plastic, but it's not a floppy plastic. It's not like a really bendy PVC. It feels more like styrene or a resin, essentially. So really nice crisp detail, and we have a good selection of models going into that. So I would say, yeah, try out the Bones USA. It's a fairly small line because we just started it not that long ago. And it's produced in USA and not in China. So, which is why it's Bones USA. Yeah, the Dragon Turtle is fantastic. We're getting there, Gimli, but it's a hard road. It takes a lot of infrastructure. Like, when Ed was originally looking at producing models in the USA, he pretty much figured we'd need to buy 4 or 5 of those gigantic machines they use. That's a lot of money. Like, in order to, like, switch over our production, right? So, I'm sure that he's still, especially with the success of Bones USA and the popularity of it, I'm sure we're moving there. But I don't know the latest on all that. But Ed, once Ed thinks of it, he wants to do it. I mean, I'm sure that he would rather have more control. Ed will always opt for the giving Reaper more control over, like, distribution and you know, allocations and just more control over the whole production process and the manufacturing process. Ed hates it when he has to wait on other people. So I'm sure that, you know, the plan, and he did mention it, I believe, in the first ever Kickstarter we did, the plan is to move it to the USA. It just has taken us a lot longer than we thought. And that's always the case. But now that we have that big new area to build infrastructure in, because we bought a piece of land next to our original factory, I'm sure now we have the room. Because those are big machines. Really big. Yeah. Yeah, well, and then you still need production lines, even if they are using more smaller technology that doesn't require the big machines. Bottom line is, I'm sure Ed wants it to be made in the USA also, so just he'll figure out how to do it as fast as he can. Trust the Ed. You must trust the Ed, even if it seems unwise. Oh, I don't know about that one, Vimanaqua. Samurai Jack says yes. I wouldn't know because we don't have our resin printer yet. That's going to be maybe something we get over. Maybe we'll buy it for ourselves for Christmas. But the thing is, for us to buy a resin printer, one of us, David or I, has to commit to getting hardcore into 3D printing hobby, because we're going to have to remove all those mold, you know, all the structure things, and we're going to have to clean off the mini and do the after prep. And so we have to really ask ourselves, is it worth it for us? Is one of us willing to do all of that work once the print, and to learn how to really, like, work with the 3D printer? Is one of us willing to do that work? Or do we have too much else on our plates? Flexible resin. I see. Oh, yeah. Ask in the Reaper has a Discord that's open to anybody. So if you go and join it, El Miedo, you can ask a lot of questions over there. I see. Mix the flexible and the ABS. Like, see, you guys are like pros. Like, there are a lot of people on this stream watching this stream who are really good with the 3D printing. So they got you, El Miedo. They've got you. Or Vimanaqua, sorry. Sorry, brain. My brain cells have been at a premium lately because of all this moving. Like, have you ever noticed, guys, that the less order your, like, surroundings are in, the less order your brain is in? Hey, Francis. Good to see ya. Resin is easier. Less goes wrong with resin. Yeah. Yeah, there's always a plus and a minus for any of the printers, right? All right, so I'm starting to bring my blue in here, but notice that I'm not bringing it up with as many highlights because this is more of a kind of indented area, so I want to keep my blue a little darker here. And that means I'm not going to mess with it too much. I'm going to put my first coat over this darker black cherry area, and then I'm just going to leave it. Unless there's underpainting that would make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, that's what I do, is I just buy from people on Etsy who will print out my thing. I just ordered, thanks whoever enabled me on my own Patreon Discord, because I just bought from Bite the Bullet, I just bought that Dragonborn Warlock bust. I was like, hey, first new mini, first fail on the willpower roll for the new house. Maybe I'll do him. He's one that looks like it would lend itself well to the wet palette also. So maybe I'll do him with the wet palette. All right, so now I want to work more of my purple. I need to work more of my coral in here to get that blend. Oh, thanks, Quinny. Yay, you get to sit down. That's always a good plus. At the end of the day of moving, it was just like at 4 or 5, I was just like, I must sit. And it was like the first time I'd actually let my butt hit the chair like all day. It was just glorious. So I know the feeling. Here we go. Just bringing in some of my coral here because we have to make this transition area here. It's just like we did up there. We're keeping it a little darker though down here. Since this is a little bit in the shadow, so it's going to be a little more dim, and we're not going to bring it up as much. And if we do notice that we've kind of accidentally highlighted it a bit too much, then we're going to knock it down. And we'll just get kind of a little bit of blue here just to kind of have it creep out toward the edge. Little bits of blue, just like I did up here. So yeah, my brain is definitely like, does not have many cells in it when the house is still in complete disarray. Like, my brain will get much more settled when my living arrangement becomes more settled. Oh, I know it is. I agree. Yeah, because then you just want to stay sitting. I did not want to cook dinner last night, but I made myself get up and do it anyway. But it was tasty dinner. The hard part is doing the au gratins. I was doing little au gratins in just little ceramic cups. A lot of prep. So tasty, but lots of prep. There we go. Get a little bit of blue on the end there. When you're working with very small areas like that little triangle, you really don't even need to blend anything. Just, you know, you put the color on one end, put the different color on the other end. As long as you're using slightly thinned paint, the edge is going to kind of fade because it's just a small area. So you can get away with the appearance of a blend when you're not really blending if the area is very small. Yogurt and granola dinners. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about living out here is we don't know where our local takeout places are yet. We just moved in Monday, so we've only like been here a couple days. and we just don't know where anything is yet. Like David walked to the bakery this morning, so he now knows where the local bakery is, but we haven't explored. We've been too busy carting stuff over here and yesterday was unpacking and organizing day for me because I needed to get my office here in shape. Yeah. Well, I took a walk yesterday, but our neighborhood is like a little residential neighborhood, so I haven't walked to the outer rim of it, which is where stores and shops and restaurants are. We do have a little neighborhood newsletter, though, that they feature a different like local restaurant, like walking distance to our neighborhood, like every month, which is nice. But yeah, there we go. So I'm liking how this is blending in, guys. I'm liking how this looks. What do you guys think? I think this is the way I'm going to go for the whole thing. We won't do like all of it in the next couple of streams. We'll go back and forth between other parts of the model and this so that we don't get bored. Yeah, usually, Francis, that'd be my MO for... A lot of this is blocking, though, because I'm using underpainting because of this white. I'm actually not necessarily doing a blending stroke because the highlight is already taken care of by the fact that I'm using a more transparent paint. So I'm really just painting one thickness over the entire thing. If I didn't have this underpainting, if I had to build up lighter paint toward an edge, then yes, I would be directionally painting then. But I don't actually do a lot of directionally painting on this stream because it takes a lot of time. So I tend to do a little bit more shortcutting unless I'm specifically teaching that on a given model. Nice, friendly. But this is California, Matt. I want a good Indian place, a good Mediterranean place, and a good sushi place. Those are my three. You want burger, Mexican, and Chinese. I want sushi and Mediterranean and Indian. Our priorities are different, but our hearts are the same. It has to have good food. I was so spoiled, though, guys. I gotta say, for all that we left the apartment, partially because, I didn't feel I could really, have a new puppy there. But I had 6 sushi places within walking distance of me. 6! It was insane. So now I have to drive to get my sushi, I think. Bay Area, south. We're down in the South Bay. We're in Mountain View. Alrighty, let's get this more blocked in, and we're getting close to the end of stream. So I'm just going to block in. I'm going to try to go a little faster here and see how fast I can do these. Now that I've figured out what I'm doing, now that I've spent some time to figure out how this works, I can go a lot faster at it. Yeah, you won't see me do it very often, Francis, but when I do my own painting, like when I was working on Halfling Assassin and other competition level stuff, I always use directional painting. But I tend to use more wet blending on here and more underpainting and glazing because they're faster techniques. And with this show, I feel like part of it is we need to see things develop a little faster. I don't usually take my time as much because we need to actually finish projects. And if I don't paint faster on something big like this Mushroom Queen, it will take us forever. And we learned kind of in the old Toolbox Live that spending a long time always doing the same thing on one model was just kind of soul killing. Like it really wasn't entertaining for anybody. So you won't see me do a lot of the directional layering on this if I'm using underpainting or if I'm doing spot wet blends. Yeah, nice, Valendar. Yeah, within about a 6 or 7 minute drive of here, we absolutely have like 16, because that within 7 minute drive, I'm back at my old apartment and I've got the 6 sushi restaurants. But we were looking more like we used to be able to walk to everything because we were in the city. We're downtown. Ah, yes. Oh, Lester, that's nice. Cool, Matt. Yeah, being less than an hour from Reaper is handy if they get Paint. I don't know if do they have Paint Club started back up, or did they not start Paint Club back up? I don't know anything about like the state of reopening or what Reaper reopened, or if they found somebody to take over Paint Club like I used to do it. Store is still closed, yeah. So I decided I needed to block in my black cherry a little bit better over here. So I just added a little layer there to make it a more crisp. Sometimes when you dry brush, you inadvertently do get stuff down in the cracks, and so it's good to go back in and just kind of line that. I do love this color, though. Now I want to make something else black cherry. Maybe I need a black cherry dragon. Yeah, Memphis is too sprawling. Yeah. Yeah. I like a 10 or 12 minute drive to reach civilization. I mean, David loves cities. He grew up in urban areas and he likes to be able to walk to everything. So this house is very much a compromise between him and me, where it's still close enough that we could bike down to downtown. You know, it'd only take us like 15 minutes to bike from here to where we used to live. You know, we could do that. It's not too far. But it's also a little bit more out in the suburbs, because I grew up more in a rural suburban area, and I don't mind driving to get to things if it's a short one, or doing the bike. I can see the attractions of the city, because being able to walk was really, really nice. When we just wanted to go and grab some food somewhere, we would just, you know, it was nice out, just take a walk down the street. So I can see the attraction, but at the same time, I really like how quiet it is out here. Definitely was a bit louder in the city. All right, cool. I'm just gonna edge highlight these suckers a little bit and do a bit of a wet blend there. I tend to use that layering brush stroke even when I'm wet blending a bit, Francis, out of habit. But it's not like super necessary for this sort of thing. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's really nice, right? When you just drive a little bit. Like if we want to drive like 10 or 12 minutes, we can get to really fancy restaurants. Like we can get into Palo Alto or San Jose, where we can get really, really good food choices. So that's really nice. And we're a little closer to that now. But yeah, I like being near somewhere with stuff. I just don't necessarily want to be right in the middle of it. But yeah, we'll figure out. There are some takeout places right near us. We just have to try them out and figure out what we like. Woods adjacent, yeah. Yeah, ours is like, it's hard to get land out here because everything is so expensive. But I realized that I didn't want the big yard. That it was really just kind of stressful to me to take care of it or make sure it got taken care of. So we've got a very small yard now, but it's we have like 3 little patios, and it's all very pretty. And I have lemon trees, guys. I have lemon trees and an avocado tree when it gets bigger. So that makes me super happy. Soda fountain dragons. Black cherry dragon. Hot fudge dragon is going to be so brown. And we can't do cool mint because we already talked about mint green, me thinking that is the ugliest color. Strawberry dragon, though. Yeah, soda fountain dragons. Rocky. We could do Rockies. Soda fountain Rocky. Sounds good. And he's a tiny dragon, so he doesn't take nearly as long. Get this a little bit more. So the other thing about this, the orange color, the lotus orange, these are a little more transparent. But the great thing about this is I can actually layer this color directly over the blue and build it up into a seamless blend. Yeah, I'm getting a puppy next year, but I'm not going to do a cat. And again, I had cats for many, many, many years, 30 years. Actually, since I was a kid, so I guess even longer. But I just don't want to deal with the litter box right now. So, whereas David has lived with a dog, but he has not lived with a cat. Did not grow up with pets because his mom's allergic. So he managed to get to like my dog. So I don't know about cats. We'll have to see. All right. A little bit of a blend here. But yeah, really, really, now that we're here, I'm so looking forward to getting a new puppy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had a robotic one. I gave it to when Katie took my old cat when I had to rehome him in the divorce. I got her a really fancy robotic litter box as a thank you. All right, have fun, Matthew. It was nice for you to stop in. Thank you. All right, I think we're good. And yeah, just a few more minutes to make up for lost time, but I think this is looking pretty good. I think I'm going to add a little more blue up on this big one, though. And then kind of a crossover color there. But yeah, I think I like that. It makes it a little more interesting, right? Because we've got like the kind of the coral color. We've got some of the orange coming up in the center, and then you've got that blue out at the edge. I think that's looking really nice. And it matches, it brings the colors back in from the front of the piece as well. So I think this is working. Francis, that's so funny. We just have really tall hedges, and everybody around us is a one-story. So you could go out naked in our backyard here, and nobody would see you. Oh, really? That's a bummer. Actually, the best colors in that line are the rust colors, and the like. If you like translucent, like clear brights, the red heat, like the heat colors, those are great. Yeah, I didn't know they were closing. I'll have to send Justin a text and get the skinny. They make cool resin bases too, so if you have a Warhammer army that you're looking for, or a warband from some other game and you're looking for cool pre-landscaped resin bases, they do that thing, or they did, so... But yeah, I think some of the washes are pretty unique. They're very specialty. Crows, sorry. I would say the rust colors, though. The rust colors are the colors that David and I reach for the most out of those, out of the secret weapon colors. Like the orange and yellow rust colors, and the red rust and the brown. And the purple actually is really cool. Very bruisey. Oh, okay. Took all the resin off the store. So they pretty much sold out and stopped producing it then. Got it. That's too bad. Well, now I can't... I'm going to have to find another basing solution for my Eldar if I ever find a 40k group around here. Or maybe I'll just use them for my super elite units, because I have some bases. Yeah, they're very, I mean, like the engine oil and all that kind of thing. Actually, the old oil, if you're ever doing oil effects, and the fresh oil, those would be kind of cool. They're not meant to be used as washes. They're meant to be used for detailing. But if you do vehicles or orcs where you want a lot of grease and oil stains, those are very realistic. I should know. I worked hard on those, darn it. Washes and terrain, yep. Alrighty. Yeah, we're at 11:06. I think we're about ready. Well, thank you for telling me about that, Pros. I didn't realize that they were closing up. I will try to toss them some support. There we are. And okay, so what we did today is we talked a lot. We talked a lot about stuff. We talked a little bit about triads and when you should do a mix between them. We talked a little bit about just mixing random things into other things. We talked about transitioning here. We talked about the underpainting with the white dry brush and how you leave your paint thinner to take advantage of underpainting in Zenith. We talked a bit about wet blending and layering. We talked a bit about, we talked a bit about a lot of things. We talked about palettes, wet versus dry. And then we worked out our transition here and that we wanted to go blue out near the rim. I really like it, so I'm going to continue to go with this on the rest of the model. Bring in that color here so that we'll have the blue up here. We'll have a little bit of blue down here. We'll have a green, and then all the colors will get repeated across the model. She's actually turning out quite colorful. She looked like she was going to be really muted when we started, but now her colors are kind of punching up and getting more intense. So I really like it. I like how Mushroom Queen is turning out. And then just as a reminder, it is Fungal Queen 44050 by Christine Van Patten. I think this is the first model that Christine sculpted for us, unless I missed my guess. And we used one of the new Kickstarter colors, Lotus Orange. We're using a lot of different stuff here. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. What do we have going on later today? Yep, there we go. 2 p.m. Central for the Crafty Creative with Josh Foreman. That's a lot of terrain type stuff. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for attending my first Reaper stream in the new house. Yay, it will only get better. I promise my backdrop will get better. Thank you all very much for coming, and we will see you again tomorrow for Lizette. Ta-da! Have a great one, guys.